Good evening, good people. It's your girl, Miss Kecia, with a little chat and chew. So, before we get started, let me start by doing my disclaimer. Um, all thoughts and opinions that are expressed on this podcast are mine and mine alone, and those of my guests that are here on my podcast. Please be advised of that before you get into my inbox. Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, I know you guys have been excitedly waiting. We're going to end off this month, the month of Black History and the month of love, with A Father's Love. And tonight's guest is author and producer and friend and father, Mr. Travis Hunter. Hey, Trav.
Hola, how you doing?
I am doing great. Can't you tell?
Of course.
All right, Trav. We tell my viewers a little about you.
Well, well, I don't know. Let's see. Okay, so I'm a writer of 12 novels, one film, one Broadway stage play, working on my second film, but most importantly, I'm a father. And
Yes. I was
that's
going
my
to say,
favorite.
don't brag, Travis. Like, dang.
Never mind all that other stuff. The most important thing is the father. And
Yes.
that's
The most important part.
yeah, that's always been my favorite thing in the world to be, so the other stuff just pays the bills, but the being a father is feeds the spirit, feeds the
Well, you're
soul.
great at all of them, Trav. So
Well, I
kudos to
try.
you.
I
So
try.
I just have some questions that we're gonna go ahead and jump into it, and I have some questions for you as really what I want to scope this around, like how I did A Mother's Love, basically talking about how the challenges that fathers have raising their kids personally and as a parent. And so I just have some questions that's going to help us get in there. So let's get started. So
Let's do it.
obviously you are a father. You did tell us that you love being a father.
But a
Um,
grandfather
tell us
now,
about your son.
a grandfather now,
You what?
a grandfather now.
Yes, a grandfather. Isn't it the best, Trav?
I don't know yet. She just fucked about 11
Oh
days
my
old.
God, I'm telling you, it's going to change your life, Trav. It's going to change your
I
life forever.
She already in my pockets already.
Yeah, I'm telling you, being a grandparent is like undescribable. Like you have a love like you just cannot explain. Like
Right.
parents, you feel like, oh man, I love my kids. Like, oh, they came from my womb, or I produced this. But the love you have for as a grandparent, oh
Yeah.
my,
I already
it
know.
changed.
I already told my son I'm gonna file for custody. Keep on.
Oh my Lord Jesus. Okay, so
So anyway,
tell
go
us
ahead.
about your son.
So my son is Rashad. He's awesome guy. Always has been. He's always been a daddy's boy. I remember when me and his mom, when he was like a little boy, like a little teeny little boy, like 1 and 2 years old. It was just so unfair to his mom. It was just so unfair because he would be like he used to sleep between us in the bed with us. And then like 1 o'clock in the morning, he just crawl over and put me in the middle. I'm like, what's wrong with you? Mommy touching me. He don't even want her touching him. And I just feel so bad for him. He fall down. He'd be like, oh, he walk, excuse me, and come running straight to me. He's always been a daddy's boy.
Mhm.
Always even to this day, like he's 26. Let him get into some foolishness. Hey,
That
dad.
is
So
true. That is true.
yeah, he's just always been cool. He's always was like a really good, fun kid, great personality. He's was an athlete. He went through some real trying times after he graduated from high school because he signed a letter of intent to play football at Clemson.
Hmm. I
And two
remember.
weeks before he graduated from high school, he got hit by a car, freak accident, broke his leg in 4 places. They put a steel plate in. Doctors was like, no more football. You break this leg again, we're going to have to amputate. So, he went through a terrible depression. And, these kids put so much in athleticism and It was just hard to watch, and
Okay.
but he prevailed, of course, and doing fine, doing his little property rehabbing company now. He got his own. He don't like working. He don't want no regular job. I'm like,
Because
man,
he
why don't you
want
go
that
get a job?
cheese.
You know what he said to me? I don't ever remember you having a regular job.
That part, Travis. We gonna get to how you how as a father you plays, because you really helped me as a friend. You and I have had conversations about Dante, so as a
Yeah,
friend, you were a part of my village as an outlet for me, to call you and be like, oh, Trav, blah, 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 whatever the case is. And you would,
right,
talk to me and express to me from that, male mentor point of view. So
right,
we're going to get to that though.
right.
So was you and Rashad's mom married?
Never.
Never, never
And you know
married.
what? The crazy thing about that is like it's. I feel like maybe sharing too much, but it is what it is, right? So
Okay.
we met like in October. She was pregnant in January.
Mm-hmm.
And so I never really got a chance to know her. Like, anybody can
Oh, you
put on
knew
their.
her.
I, Not really. I just got some. So,
Lord help
but,
us.
I know. But the thing is, she's not a bad person at all. No, but we
Mhm.
just wasn't personally. We just didn't connect personality wise. But I didn't grow up with a dad, so I
Okay.
was like, oh, whatever. We gonna figure something out.
Right, right.
So I wasn't about to be one of those dads where my kid was on crosstown. If I could help it, some dads can't help
Right.
it, but I
Mhm.
was like, I
Right.
just moved her in. I'm just gonna figure out a way to make this thing work, because it's really about him. Then when I
Right.
realized we couldn't make it work, she moved out when he was like 3, and then he just would be like, I don't want to be. I want my dad. I want to go with my dad.
Mhm.
And in the state of Georgia, if you have a
Mhm.
kid out of wedlock, custody automatically goes to the mother, right?
Wow.
So
Yeah, I remember you telling me that.
yeah, so he was like, I'm not staying with you. I'm staying with my dad. Like, I'm not. He wouldn't talk to her. When he first moved out, he wouldn't talk to her. He would just, I want to call my dad. Then he called me, come get me, Then time to get off the phone, he wouldn't talk to her. Wouldn't say
Mhm.
one word. He was only 3 years old, but he wouldn't talk to her at all. Like,
But that says a
so
lot, though.
yeah, he was
That
just like
really does
always.
speak volumes.
He was just a daddy's boy. He was just, but she's kind of quiet. She's kind of like, she's not. Me and him get out there and wrestle on the floor. We run around and play in the yard, and she just kind of go in the room, read a book. So he was like, "What the hell? I got an energy. I got to burn this off." And my dad helps me do it, and we have fun.
Mhm.
So he just wanted to be with me. So I was paying child support for like 3 years, and he was living with me.
Wow.
Yeah,
And
but
she
I
was
ain't really
accepting
care,
it.
huh?
She was accepting it.
She filed for it. And it gets worse. Check this out. So, for like 3 years, because I didn't know the laws, I didn't know the rules. And so I had to file for legitimation, even though my name was on the birth certificate. I had to file for legitimation. Then I had to go into another court and file for custody. So I didn't mind. I wasn't making no money anyway. I was working at a bank. I wasn't making but $21,000 a year. So my child support was $400 a month.
Okay.
And that was the daycare. It was $100 a week. So I was paying it already. So I didn't really
Right.
care about like. So then, for 3 years, I just paid the child support. She might get him on a Wednesday and every other weekend. So, she did. I was trying to keep her involved in his life. I would let her know everything that's going on. Hey, he got
Mhm.
this going on. Hey, he got this going on. And she would come. She would do sometimes not. But when I wrote a book,
Wow.
they put it in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution.
Mhm.
Atlanta author signs debut novel with largest publisher in the world for 6 figures.
Wow.
So, but I'm not a dummy. So I already knew this is an opportunity for her to kind of come at me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what I did was I put my contract in my company's name. and I just paid myself the exact same thing I was making at the
I
bank.
got you.
So you can't sue me. My company didn't
Right,
have a baby
right.
with her, right? But she went for an increase anyway, which was for her. She didn't know what I was doing behind the scenes. So I had letters from all of the teachers. Now keep in mind, he's
Mm,
like at this point in time, he's like in the second grade. So I got
right.
letters from teachers, his doctors, his baseball coach. None of them said they never met her. Right. So when she wanted to go to the increase, she went in there with a lawyer. I went in there by myself. I asked the mediator, I said, just ask her his math teacher's name. So the mediator was like, listen, so at this age, the most important thing in his life is education and health.
Mhm.
Make sure he's safe. And do you think his father's house is safe? She's like, yeah, it's safe. It's okay. So now we go to the education and his health. So I have to ask you, what's his math teacher's name? She was like, well, he takes care of all of that. So what do you mean he takes care of? She said, well, he moved into a school in his neighborhood, and he said he got tired of driving to my neighborhood, so he moved over here to his neighborhood. And she said, okay, so what's his homeroom teacher's name? She didn't know. She said, what's his principal name? She didn't know. So she said,
Wow.
have you ever been to the school? She said, I've been to the school for his like ceremonies and mother and son dance. So they know who I am. She said, okay, they know who you are, but do you know who they are?
Right,
I said,
right.
okay, so what's his doctor's name? She said, but I cover him on my insurance. She said, okay, good. That's something that you do, but what is his doctor's name? So anyway, long story short, we left out of there with me not paying anything at all and her paying me like $750 a month.
Oh, well, that's
But
good. But that those are great points to show the viewers that this is not just something that women have to deal with.
right,
Like,
right.
women are not the only ones who have to deal with these different obstacles when it comes to having a child that you're not married to, with a person that you're not married to, or having a child and having to deal with divorce. We
Right.
always come down on men like they're not doing their part, and the woman have to try so hard to get the man involved, and to pay child support, and but
A lot of times that is the case. A lot of times that is the case. I mean, no knock on women who are out there doing their thing, but the
right,
system is set up, at least in Georgia, the system is set up to help women. I had to fight tooth and nail. Like I mean, I had to go through all kind of stuff, like even the legitimation paperwork, which is be something so simple as her signing it, right?
right,
She wouldn't sign it because she knew what I was doing. She was like, "Oh, he's filing for custody. I'm not signing it." But the child support, I'm like, so it seemed like there would be one court, child support and custody, same court, but it's two different courts,
right,
and they're not talking to each other. So I had to go through
right,
all kind of things to get legitimation, just to legitimize my son. And the only way I got it done was I told her, I said, I'm doing a life insurance policy. I don't want him to have any problems if something happens to me. He needs to be legitimized. So
right,
then she finally signed it because it was obviously some kind of reward at the end of this. But she wasn't going to sign it if it was just custody. So once I got the legitimation paperwork, then I was free to go file for custody.
right.
Well, I didn't even file for full custody. I filed for joint custody because I didn't want to take any of her rights away. And I was like, he needs to have two parents. And she was not a bad person. She
Right,
just thought I was making all kind of money, and I'm the
right,
mother. I
right.
need to. So,
You should have been my
but I was,
baby daddy.
huh?
You should have been my baby daddy.
We got time. We got time. So, but it was, it was cool. I mean, I didn't even really. I think she might have paid child support about 3 or 4 months. I really didn't
Bless
need
her.
her money. I didn't want to put her in no bad situation. She got laid off from her job, and so I was like, I'll cancel it. Just leave me alone with the foolishness.
Right.
Like,
See, he's just such a good guy overall. A lot of people wouldn't have did that. I mean, that's kind of like my story too. I was just like, I mean, I wouldn't say he was no great guy and all that. I mean, that is their father, but
I
I
didn't say
just
she was a great. I didn't say she was a great person. I just said she wasn't bad.
oh, well, he ain't bad either, I
There
guess.
you go.
My
There
big
you go.
daddy at the end of the day.
My baby boy.
All right, so let's see. Okay, how about this one? So, having said all that, how do you think that affected Rashad overall? did it have like an impact on him?
I
Like,
think so. I think it had an impact more so with relationships with young ladies. See, your
oh,
mom is your first love,
mm-hmm,
right?
mm-hmm,
She sets the tone. She sets the standard. And so when he started, he called himself falling in love at like 17, right? 18,
mm-hmm.
whatever. You know, he met some little girl that just wasn't really good. You know, like she didn't care about school. She had like, he going into his senior year, you only need 22 units to graduate. He had 21 already.
Uh-huh.
She was the same age as he was. She had 9.5. So really, technically, she was a second semester sophomore. But she was
Right.
very pretty. She
Mm-hmm.
was very pretty, and she was like, you know, popular girl. He's a popular athlete. And then that relationship was just toxic. And I believe that he was looking for the love. He never really bonded with his mother, you
Right.
know. And like I grew up with my grandmother, my great
Mm-hmm.
grandmother, and so that was like my first love. I kind of watched
Yeah.
how my grandfather took care of her, and they took care of each other. And my grandfather set the tone to me on what a man should be like. He was very gentle, but very stern. Like, you know, he would just let you get away with everything. But when he said something, you knew it was time to shut it down. All right, calm down. But my grandmother was very loving. And Rashad's mother was not, I won't say she wasn't loving, but she just was kind of standoffish, you know.
She wasn't very nurturing, maybe.
No, she like no maternal instincts. Like I
Yeah.
remember he had the chicken pox, right? And I was downstairs in my basement, and we were living together at the time. He was like 2, and he was just crying, crying, crying. And I'm like, I come upstairs. I'm like, what in the world? She was just asleep. Had her back to him. He was in the middle of the bed, crying, pouring down, sweating. So I picks him up. I go get a cool washcloth. I'm walking up and down the hallway with him. I'm holding him all night. You know, get the cloth gets warm. I go cool it off again and put it on his head. And she just didn't have those instincts. She was like, he'll be all right. It's the chicken pox. Like,
Oh,
he'll be fine. Like
oh,
I used to take off work to go to the doctor. Like she would, if I was out of town on business or something, she would take him. But for the most part, she was like, how did his appointment go?
oh. Well, how did you help him through that? Like,
So I
how did
mean,
you help him
it's
through
really
that
nothing I could
process to
do.
develop?
It really wasn't anything I could do because he was at that age. His little hormone was raging, and I would talk
Mm-hmm.
to him, but you know, he was like, you know, I don't know. It was tough for me, you know, like
Right.
because I like to try to help as much as I can, but when you can't help your child, and you've been there too, right? You can't
Right.
help your child because they're technically of age,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't want to call the authorities on them anyway. Like so, I mean, that could turn into a deadly situation, you know. So you just kind of helpless. You know, I had a stroke worrying about him, you know. So my blood pressure was high, and you know, he was no longer under my roof because I wouldn't let his girlfriend spend the night. Can you cuss on here?
Yes, Travis.
Well, I'm about to cuss because I'll be like, he like, yeah, can my girl spend the night? I'm like, hell no. You better sneak and fuck like I used to do. You better no, you're not my roommate, you know. But his mother always felt rejected, so she was like, y'all can just come out here. And next thing you know, him and his girlfriend out at his mom's house, and it's like I have zero control now. And so it was like it was tough. So because I saw
Yeah,
him just
that
wasting.
sounds like a tough situation because now she's trying to fill in those
Right.
emotions at time and she's doing it in a very negative way. So
Trying to
I
undo.
bet that was
I think subconsciously she was trying to undo everything I did because she had nothing to do with it.
yeah.
But you know,
So
he's
how
fine.
about well, I guess yeah, you kind of touched on that as he went into teenagehood, like as a teenager, you know, having that
Ooh,
separation from his mom and
ooh,
you know
that
how
was
you
tough.
explained that not having that first love, that connection, he, you know, going into you know, meeting girls and all of that. That unfortunately he probably met some toxic people in the beginning before he
Because
figured it out.
Right, right,
what it
right,
is I'm looking for, and what and how does it make me feel, and what emotions, what traits are that I'm looking for in another woman. So yeah.
right, right.
Now, okay, how about this? Okay, so you said your father wasn't active in your life. So, what positive male figure did you have growing up that kind of molded you into um, who you are today as a man?
So my great grandfather. So he passed away when I was like 11 or 12. But I mean, it was almost like he knew I got to pour as much into him as possible because I'm getting older and I'm not healthy. So he would all, I mean, even my company is named after him and my grandmother, which is Jim
Ah,
Rose.
okay.
His name is Jim, her name is Rose. So, um, I mean, he just was like, I mean, that's why I like building stuff now because
Mm-hmm.
I would go with him. He'd buy me a little tool belt. I'd be out there working with him. I'm only 5 or 6 years old. You know, he would take me hunting with him 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. I got a little BB gun. You know, it's a great story. Like, so one time we were hunting with him and this white guy named Warren Davis, older white man. And I'm like maybe 6 or 7. So they're hunting raccoons, right? In South Carolina. We got the
Raccoon.
dogs, huh?
I say raccoons. Wow.
Yeah. So you can eat some raccoon, girl. Raccoons are good. So
Oh,
what's wrong with you? So anyway, so we're hunting raccoons, right? And the dogs got the raccoons in the tree, you know. So the dogs were chasing the raccoons run up the tree. So then we shine the flashlight and just pop them, pop, right? Because the dogs will tree him, so you know where the dogs are, and you go shoot the raccoon. So I got a little Daisy BB gun. If you shoot a raccoon with a BB gun, he's gonna be like, "Boy, get out my face." So they get to shooting, right? They get to pow, 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 pow. So I'm cocking my little gun up, right? So I don't know any better.
like
So we get,
Harlem Nights. Pow, pow.
yeah, and mine don't even sound like that. It's just a BB gun, right? So we get to the back of the truck. They got all these raccoons. So Mr. Davis, which was the older white man, right? He said, "Jim, that's not my bullet." So my granddaddy says, "Wait a minute, that's not my bullet either."
Oh
I don't know
no.
any better, right? So they're like, "That's Bo Bullet." They used to call me Bo. "That's Bo Bullet." And I'm walking around, yeah, you know. He's like, "Oh, you got him." Of course, I didn't shoot the gun. I was like 16 in algebra class in high school when I said, "Wait a minute, my granddaddy done played me." but it was just building up your confidence, like
Right, right.
wanting you to feel a part of something.
Mhm.
And you know, they wasn't going to tell me you didn't shoot nothing, you didn't do anything. They was like, the
Right.
next day when all these men came over here to get the raccoons off the porch, because we had like 20 of them. That one right there, we keeping that one because that's Bo's. And the other men are like, "Oh, you shot a raccoon?" "Yes, sir. Yes, sir." You know, but what that did was it just instills confidence in you to,
Right,
you know, to
right.
be part of something. And so, like I said, I didn't realize I was like 16 and I was sitting, my dad granddaddy was dead and gone, but I was like, "Wait a minute now, you can't kill no raccoon." But yeah, so my grandfather was the catalyst to just, you know, everything. So
So I got one for you. With today's society, how did you prepare Rashad for it? Now I know that you have your foundation in which we'll get to in a minute, but tell me, because it hits a little different when it's your own. So how did
yeah,
you prepare him for the world?
constantly keeping it real with him. Like,
Okay.
he's young. He likes to listen to rappers and they like to talk about drug dealing and killing and shooting and all of this stuff, right? And I would just constantly say, you know what? They're building prisons. If you listen to that, they're building prisons for you. That rapper right there is the KKK. That's what I would just tell them. That's the KKK. That's the new KKK. We are the only group of people, black people are the only group of people who sing and dance to our own demise, calling each other
Mm-hmm.
niggas and bitches. And those are derogatory terms, right? But
Mm-hmm.
we've called them in terms of endearment. So you
Right,
don't even
right,
get offended when somebody say, "What's up, my nigga?" You're not even
right.
offended. Really. You might have to check them like, "I don't really do the nigga thing, but I hear you. What's up?" But I just tell them like they're sending subliminal messages all the time. I used to write songs. I don't know if you remember that. I used to
Yeah,
write songs.
no.
So there's a guy out of Florence, South Carolina named Trey Lorenz, and who sings with
Yes.
Mariah Carey, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when I got out the Army, I'm working with Trey. I go to New York, and I'm not going to say this guy's name publicly because he could, lie and say and sue me because he got way more money than me. Um,
So please
but
don't say it on my show.
I ain't gonna say it. So,
Okay.
but he was a top executive at Sony, right? He was a top executive. So we were in this meeting one day, all day. It's getting late. We leave, and he pushed the up elevator. So I'm like, "You live in the building?" He's like, "No, I'm going home. Hop on." So I get on the elevator. We get to the top floor. There's a helicopter waiting on him. So I'm like, "Damn, Sony paying you good." So he was like, "Sony's okay, but if you really want to make some money, Travis, invest in prisons."
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, "Prison? I didn't even know you could invest in prisons."
Right.
This is 1993. Like I didn't know anything about it. Like
private organizations.
As I grew older, you have these guys lobbying Congress to create laws.
Mm-hmm.
They create these laws to lock our black asses up and put us in these private prisons. And on top of that, they use these rappers because we initially started the gangster rap, right? So they saw, wait a minute, they're gonna say that. They're gonna start talking about that. So let me go pluck some little project dude out of it and give him more money than he could ever imagine, and let him start bragging on all this money he's making and all this. And he's singing all of this, I kill you, I shoot you, promoting drug use and all of this promiscuity, criminal behavior. So wait a minute, the records labels was like, whoa, let's make this popular because they can make anything they want popular. So they're not putting any money behind Public Enemy. They're not putting any money behind conscious rappers. They're not. There's a reason why Lauryn Hill only had one album. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So 10 million records. Record labels prey on people that make 10 million records. And so, but they wasn't putting no money behind her because she was conscious. She wasn't calling you no bitch. She was telling you to believe in yourself. And so I started putting everything together. They're using these little rappers to poison the minds. Once they poison the minds, they can put them in their private prisons and they can make a profit. Also, that's their countermeasure to affirmative action.
Right.
So we got to hire certain black people. Well, not if they got criminal records. And they're going to try their best to make criminal records. When I graduated from high school, there was 780,000 people in prison. Now it's over 3 million.
Wow, that's crazy.
And it's the reason because they're criminalizing almost everything. So, and young black men are the targets.
Right.
Black people only make up like 17, maybe not even 17. I'm talking about black people.
All right, get off your soapbox. Come back to the topic. Come back. How did you prepare Rashad not to be in that number?
Because I'm telling you, I was telling him exactly what I'm telling you.
Okay.
You make up most of the prison population.
Right.
And they're preying on you to do what Lil Wayne told you to do. They want you to listen to Future and start doing drugs.
Yeah.
Because he Percocet, Molly Percocet. He don't care about black people because that's who listening to him, and he's getting rich because he do these shows on Percocet, knowledge, and we going out there getting high. I got a little cousin doing 80 years right now because he was high on Percocet.
What?
And he was an honor student at the University of South Carolina. At 18 years old, a junior at 18. But he got high on these Percocet, Mollies, and whatever, committed a crime, and they gave him 80 years. Never been in trouble in his life. Wow. 80 years. Nobody got killed.
So listen to this. Somebody asked a question from Jay Gaddy. She says, so how do we get men to step up and start changing young black men's mindset?
We just got to get involved.
So that would be how that would take us into. So that's how you prepared Rashad. So what was the basis of you wanting to start your foundation?
I started my foundation.
Because ultimately, that's what you do in your foundation.
Right. I started my foundation before I wrote my first book. My book is named after my foundation. My foundation is the Hearts of Men Foundation.
Right.
My first book is the Hearts of Men. It's just that you got to get involved. You can't be afraid of these young men. You got to go talk to them. Get involved. A lot of times they won't listen to you, but you at least got to give it a try. And I say fathers really cheat themselves out of being active in their kids' lives. Yes. Because when they're little, they will be it's so easy for you to become their hero. All you got to do is be active. They don't care about your money.
Yep.
Kids spell love Time. That's how they spell
Yep.
love. Spend time with them. And so that's why I go to the juvie centers, because some of these kids never had a father. Some of their fathers in prison. And I never fuss. I never yell. I never get mad at them. I never write them up. I do everything gently. I don't care if it's the hardest thug in the world, got 2 murder cases, rape cases. I don't care. I'll be like, you all right. You're better than that. I'll just constantly pour into them. I
Pouring
never,
into.
even when they're doing stupid stuff, I might say, come on now. You know you better than that. I don't
Mhm.
call stupid ass, because they used to that. That's
Right,
what they're
right,
accustomed to. So
right.
I'm gonna plant a seed. You're so much better than that. You don't see it, but I see it. Even if I got to lie, half the time I be lying. I'm like, your little badass gonna be doing 100 years, but I don't say that to them. So they just
Right,
got to get
because that's what
involved.
they need. That's what they need.
Right,
They don't really all the time, and I think that's in parenting in general, or as an adult dealing. If you want to pour into these kids, you want them to know that it doesn't have to be like your reality, like what you see. You don't have to
right,
become a product of your environment.
right, right. And I have this big thing that I always get in trouble for, because we've been indoctrinated with slave mentality. I don't believe in spankings. I think that shit don't work. Every time I go speak at a prison, right? Every single time I ask the same question. And I've spoken at probably, maybe 50, 75 prisons, right? All over the world, not just this country, all over the world. I've been spoken at prisons in Africa, all over, Amsterdam, any place. I've been to 36 different countries. I've spoken at prisons in 35 of them. Only one place wouldn't let me speak, and that was in Dubai. It was like, because they are too ashamed to come out and meet you, because they dishonor their family name, so they don't like visitors. They don't want to be bothered. They're
Oh,
ashamed of themselves. But every
wow.
place else, you go speak. But I always do a survey. How many people in here got spankings when they grew up? It's always like 95, 97% of the people. So, and I'll say something on Facebook. Well, these kids need their ass beat. That's not gonna
Yeah,
work.
I agree. I didn't spank my daughter sometimes tells me that I should have spanked him, but I mean,
You don't
I mean,
need it. You don't
I
need it.
did. Now they didn't never go without a spanking. Now they got one when they really, really needed it, but for the most part, I didn't spank mines either.
It creates fear, right? So
Yeah.
spanking, that's what it does, and it's lazy parenting. It's lazy parenting, and it comes from people. Spare the rod, spoil a child. That's bullshit. So if all of these people, 97% of the people in prison got spankings, how's that working?
Right.
And
Right.
my grandfather didn't believe in spankings, right? So he wouldn't let nobody spank me. My mama, nobody, like anybody. If put your hands on him, I'm gonna spank you. So
Oh wow.
I'm the only one in the family didn't get a spanking. Only one. And guess what? I'm the only one that ain't never been to prison. And I'm not saying that there's a correlation. I ain't never even been to
Right.
jail.
Right. No, I
I
get
never
it
had handcuffs on. 52 years old black man and talk shit all the time. And I
all
ain't
the
never
time.
had handcuffs on. So I don't believe that it works. I believe it creates fear. And
Yeah.
that's lazy parenting. So if you're scared of me, you won't do certain things.
It kind
So,
of I always looked at it as it goes back to slavery, like
right. And they
so and
still
I
find a
never
way.
wanted my kids to fear me. Now,
Right.
yeah, they got in trouble, like extreme trouble, but I never wanted them to fear me. So, do you think that it correlates when it comes to young men, especially those that don't have their fathers involved?
First of all, they're not going to fear you forever. Right. So
Right.
if they fear you, they'll just stay away from you. Right. When they get to a
Hmm.
certain age, if they're, who going to go around somebody they're scared of? Like,
Right. You're
oh,
right.
right. So, but if they respect you,
Right.
and that respect lasts a whole lot longer,
Right.
right? And that's what
And
they
it
call
creates
it.
the I get what you're saying. It creates a healthy relationship between the parent and the
Well,
child.
they're not afraid to talk to you when they make mistakes, and they're gonna make
Right,
mistakes. But if
right.
they
That
if
yeah,
they're
I
afraid
get
to
it.
talk to you, they're gonna hide their mistakes. They're gonna. I always tell, and it's crazy sounding this. When a kid lies to you, that's a sign of respect. How's that a sign of respect? He lying. Well, what if he in the backyard smoking? Yeah, I'm back here smoking. What the fuck you gonna do about it? But if I ain't
Right.
smoking, that means he respects you so much that I'm gonna hide it from you. I don't want you. I don't want to disappoint you. Whatever. So, but I mean, if you create a healthy environment when they make mistakes, they're still gonna lie. But
I mean,
they
yeah.
they, they feel like they got a safe place to come to.
Right.
If they're in a bad situation and they did something you told them not to do, you still want them to be able to call you before it gets even worse, instead of hiding it because, oh, he's gonna kill me because he told me not to even come here. I remember my son snuck out one time. We went to this party. He didn't sneak out my house, snuck out his mom's house. I told him not to go to the party. He went to the party. Well, guess what? They start shooting at the party. He still felt so. He said, Dad, I know you're gonna be mad at me, but they shooting. Can you come get me? I said, where are you? You supposed to be at your mom. What? Yeah, I came to this party. I'm sorry, Dad. Can you just come get me? He was comfortable enough. I'll deal with you cussing me out or fussing at me, but come get me. Now, if he was afraid of me, he would have called anybody but me to get out of that situation and just hid it from me the whole time. So I didn't even fuss when I went and got. I said, "Thanks for calling me. I'm glad you're safe. Everything's cool.
Yeah, because for one, it could have ended totally different.
Right. So yeah. So that's. I mean, I don't believe in spankings. I don't believe in all that cussing kids out, breaking their spirits when they get when they're young.
Even when they get older,
even when
sometimes
they
I
get
don't have to
older.
cuss it out.
Oh, you can cuss them a lot out when they get older, but they can
I
handle
mean,
it
they
a little
adults.
better.
I mean, like,
I cussed my son out just yesterday.
okay, good. Then we're on the right track.
Yeah, I cuss him out all the time. Like, he don't do nothing but laugh now because he's 26.
Yeah, pretty much. That's
So,
pretty much how my kids respond. Like, or
yeah, he be like, "Come
they
on,
talk
Dad."
to each other like, your mama tripping. Then I become the other one's mama. Your mama
Yeah, that's
tripping.
right. That's right. Well, I ain't got the one, so he ain't got nobody to say your daddy.
So tell me and the viewers about your foundation and what it does in the community, and tell us all about it. Everybody didn't read the book, and then we could
Right.
get those to go on Amazon to read the book and then read the other books. But right now, let's talk about the Hearts of Men.
Okay. So the Hearts of Men Foundation, I started in 1999, and we mentor at-risk kids. So we go into group homes and juvenile detention centers and mentor girls and boys. I mentor through creative writing and acting. And so what I do is I introduce them to writing. I have book clubs. We have book clubs. We'll start reading the book, then we'll discuss this book. And then the next session, we'll start writing some kind of project, be it stage play, a movie, whatever. If they interested in writing songs, we'll write a song. Then we'll discuss this particular song. Why'd you write this song? Where'd you get that from? What motivated you to do that? And so I'm trying to introduce them to something outside of the hood.
Right.
Like every story that they write, I might let the first one be something they're used to. After that, no thugs, no drug dealing, no prostitutes, no crime. Write something. I force them to think outside of what they normally do.
Right.
And
Okay.
so our recidivism rate is we have 80% of our kids don't come back to the juvie if they're in my program. They don't
That's
come back.
great, Travis.
Yeah.
That's a great accomplishment.
And the 20%, I'll be still working on them. When they come back in, some of them come back in on purpose because their juvenile center is better than their home life.
Oh wow.
Because they're going to get that food up there is phenomenal. That food is good. I eat up there every day. But they got these black women back in their kitchen putting it down and they ain't playing. It's like Thanksgiving every
I
day.
cannot with you. I cannot.
Right? They don't play around. But jail food is terrible, right? Jail food is terrible. So I also think it's like a setup. They got PlayStation in there. They got pool tables. They got ping pong tables. Ain't none of that going on in prison,
Right.
So I think it's like a little setup through the system, even though they're thinking
Yeah, to
subconsciously.
change your mindset, to see that there's an opportunity for something different. You do not have to be a product of your environment.
Right. So they want in the juvie system, they want them to be comfortable. They don't want them to treat them like jail, technically.
Right.
Even though they got the same jail cells as a jail. It looks the exact same as a prison.
Wow.
But they have a day room with pool tables, ping pong tables, big screens with PlayStations and about 10, 15 PlayStation 5s or whatever the new one is. and they update them every year. So these kids have a better in there than they have at home. But
Right.
I always tell them this is just a setup. This ain't how it's gonna be in prison. So
Right. Yeah, no.
yeah. So I mean, they eat good there. Sometimes when I go to their houses, it's like refrigerator ain't even working. Like
Wow.
stove got one eye maybe working, and mama cooking crack on that. So it's like it's terrible. So, but we still have a really good rate of them kids not coming back. So, but that's what
And
we
it
do.
really says a lot about you and how because you're paying it forward. You're paying it
Yeah.
forward now that Rashad is older. Rashad is he's a father. He's creating his
Right.
own
Right.
family, and he's pouring into his children now. At least he will be. She's still a little teeny tiny thing, but for those kids that don't
Right.
have that, those kids that never had the opportunity to have a positive male figure pour into them, because I follow your chronicles of the kids and stuff, and I can just tell that even the ones that frequent and they come back, they look forward to Mr. Hunter, they look forward to the push-ups, they look forward to that, because even though that they may do something and you make them do push-ups, they know it's out of love because you want what's best for
Right.
them. So
Right.
that's awesome to see that it just didn't stop like, oh, my son is good, and I don't have to you know pour back into anybody else. And so I think that goes along with the question that was asked, how can we change? And I think a lot of, within our community, we really need to, not just men, but women too, need to get involved and pour back into these kids and, change the dynamics, because the numbers are growing when it comes to, black men that are being killed in the street, black men that are in, prison. Like, I know a lot of people say, they're either gonna end up in jail, dead, the military, or possibly playing sports. But I mean, we need to change the cycle to show that there's so much more opportunity that our young men could be getting into, if we help them, if we give them the tools. Because that's just like something simple as like when we was in school, I remember we had what was that thing called, Travis? We had the parents and stuff.
And I'm a little
Uh
older than you.
See, we had TI, which was like, home economics, where they were teaching life skills. They don't have that
Right.
stuff. There's a lot of schools that, the education, depending on the education system that they're in, a lot of these teachers are not taking the time to pour in to the kids. And you really can't, blame the teachers, because the teachers are overwhelmed. And so it's like, if they're not getting it at home and the teachers are overwhelmed and the teacher can't give them what they need, then it's for us as a society to help nurture our young black men and give them the love and support that they need so that they can be successful. So I think that everything that you're doing with your foundation is just amazing. And we're going to put the information up so people can donate and pour into what you guys are doing so that you can keep doing that, because it's not a cycle that's going to stop. Just like
Right.
the you said the numbers from in the 90s to now, how drastically they have grown in the prison system. It's not going
Yeah.
to stop. It's a cycle that we just have to become a part of to try to change for our kids. So that was an excellent point, and I know I am grateful for everything that you guys are doing in the foundation and pouring into the young kids that aren't as fortunate to have at least a stable home, let alone a stable parent. So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
so I would ask you my last question before we go is this, Mr. Hunter, what advice would you give to young men and fathers today?
Stop listening to rappers. That would be the first thing. That ain't gonna happen. But you want to listen to it, understand that it's entertainment. Don't try to live
Right,
that life.
right,
And just Understand that there's a difference. This is not real. Ice Cube is not a gangster. Lil Wayne is not a gangster. These people, Young Jeezy is not a gangster. Da Baby, he's running around killing people in real life, right? He lives in North Carolina. He's really popular, really talented, always in some foolishness. But guess what? He's going to be fine. You know, Bobby Brown couldn't get locked up when he was making hits. But as soon as them hits started going down, he couldn't stay out of jail. R. Kelly was raping little girls for 30 years. Once them hits start slowing down, now he facing life in prison. So they'll take care of you and leave you out while you poisoning these minds and doing dumb stuff.
Right.
But I just say, look at hip hop as entertainment. As far as fathers and mothers, look at your education system as an enhancement. They shouldn't be the primary.
Right.
So we have this thing about critical race theory. What's stopping you from teaching it? So what the schools, we're never going to, Malcolm X said, only a fool would depend on his enemies to educate his child.
Yep, absolutely.
And these people are still ran by the white power structure. I don't care if it's a black school, still ran by the white power structure. And therefore, they're not going to give you too much to help you. They'll just push you through the system. But if you're just dependent on schools, the actual school to teach your child something, you're setting yourself up for failure. Right. So, but we have to stop being lazy as parents. You got to learn yourself. So whatever your school is teaching your kid, that's just secondary. It shouldn't be primary. And I just say, get involved. Find out what's going on with your children. Make relationships with your children. Go through their phones. You ain't there to be their friends. My son didn't even have a door on his room. I took the whole door off.
Hey, my kids can tell you about that too.
Yeah, I took the door off. You don't need to be up in here with your door closed. What?
You don't pay no bills up in here.
Close the door when you get your own house.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, we're not friends. Like we can be friendly, but I'm not here to be your friend. We can be friends when you become an adult and do your own thing. Right. But as a kid, I've seen parents smoke weed with their kids.
Oh wow.
Let their girlfriend spend the night when they're in high school. Well, they're gonna do it anyway. Well, true, but they ain't got to do it under my roof.
Right. There needs to be a boundary. There needs to be a boundary.
They don't, and that's the thing. The biggest thing is boundaries. You have to create boundaries with your kids. Yes. Like even to this day, like my son, he don't smoke weed, but he come in the yard, his car smell like weed. Are you smoking weed? No, that was Kenny in the car, whatever, right? I'm like, why are you letting people smoke weed in your car? If you get pulled over, you going to jail,
Right.
Yeah, you're right. But it's like, he's going to, oh man, I could tell he done tried to spray. I still smell it. And, but he's coming up with an excuse. He's 26, but he'll still, Dad, it was so-and-so, like, not that I'm going to hit him, but it's the respect level. Like, I feel like I let you down. I got to do better, And 2 days later, he'll still be like, hey, Dad, I can't get that weed smell. He still want to talk about it because it's in his mind, I just say get involved. Don't be friends with your kids. Find out who they friends with and then separate them. No, that boy is not good news. Because they're at that age, they're more influenced by their friends than you.
Right.
They're questionable.
You have plenty of time when they become adults. Trust me. But as a child, a teenager, you have to set those boundaries. Definitely.
You got to. And that's the thing. If you don't create boundaries, I made a mistake when my son was little. He said, Dad, why are you always yelling? He was like 10th grade. But I used to say, hey, man, make sure you get them dishes, before you go to sleep. I come back in an hour. Hey, man, put them dishes in the dishwasher. I ain't forgot, Dad. Well, what I should have did was say, hey, stop what you're doing. Go put them dishes up. And that way I ain't got to frustrate myself. Then I come back 2 hours later, he sleep. Man, wake up and put the dishes up. Now I got
You knew exactly what it was your expectation was of him.
Right. But if I just said, hey, go get them dishes, he would have did it. But I gave him too much rope. Hey, man, make sure you do the dishes. Trying to be nice and trying to be, go do the dishes. But also, you don't, like when he came home from school when he was little, do your homework first before you go play. So you send in a message, take care of your business before pleasure.
Right.
So don't be missing out on taking care of something that could create income for you over some pleasure. The pleasure, that'll be there.
Right.
So, it's just little things that we do, that we should do that I think will change the whole dynamic. It's just creating discipline and boundaries.
Right. Mhm.
But you have to be disciplined as a parent first. So many
Yes,
parents create
absolutely, Travis.
they
Absolutely.
create kids by just having fun. Like my dad and my mom were high school sweethearts. Neither one of them raised me. They dropped me off with my great grandparents, and they went on and did their life. She was 17, he was 18.
Hmm.
She went to Philadelphia. He came to Atlanta. I was in Florence. Like I used to call her Linda. That's what everybody else called her. I ain't know. Wait, Travis, that's your mama. My mama
Okay,
right here. So,
Trav. We're not encouraging anyone to call their parents by their first name.
but I just didn't know. You know what I'm saying? I called my grandmother mom. You
Right,
know,
right.
and so I didn't. I was a little boy, so I ain't never really see her. You like Travis, your mama on the phone. I call, hey, how you doing? All right, bye. I had no bond with her.
Okay,
You got to
so
bond with the kid.
we're gonna end this on a good note. All right, Mr. Travis. Thank you so
Uh-huh.
much for sharing your life stories when it comes to parenting Rashad and just about your foundation and what was important to you as a parent, how you steered him in the right direction, how you continue to do that now that he is a parent, and the awesome things that you do for all the young men lives that you touch
And young
in
ladies,
the juvenile system all over the country. What was that, Trav?
I said, and young ladies,
And young ladies, yes, because you do help the young ladies. So I do, yes. Let me add that. So thank you, Travis. If you want to go ahead and what's the website to your foundation?
it's theheartsofmen.org or THOMF.org.
Okay, so that
Theheartsofmen.org.
people can to go to the heartsofmen.org, make a donation, and Travis also sells t-shirts and well, I'm sorry, he
But
does
that's
not
on my
sell
website. That's on
or a
TravisHunter.com.
donation. Hmm?
Said the t-shirts are on my own website, which is TravisHunter.com. But all of the
Okay,
funds
you
from
go
the t-shirts go to the
travishunter.com for
foundation.
that. All right.
Yeah,
He big time, baby. He got a lot going on. He got a .org, a .com. Listen, y'all better come see about Travis and what he doing, okay? All right. So go to one of those websites and do something to help the kids, okay? To help
that's right.
our kids, all right?
That's right.
So
That's right.
Travis, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking time with me this evening out of your busy schedule of not doing much of nothing. No, I'm just playing, Trav. I'm just playing. I'm just playing. So thank you again, Trav. And
Thank you. Thank you for
I
having me.
hope the listeners enjoyed. As we come to a close, I just want to give my shout outs as always. So I want to give a shout out to God for giving me the grace and the opportunity to share my life experiences and share the people that I love that have made an impact in my life. I want to thank you all for just being so dope and being out here every week with us Thursdays at 7 p.m. I want to thank Travis again for agreeing
Thank
to
you.
freely be a guest on my podcast. I want to
I
also
need
thank
some
the Brass
money.
Mill Studios and my production team. They are awesome. So let's talk about how we're going to move from the month of love, Black love, and just love in general to the Women History Month for the month of March. So we are going to have some phenomenal women showcasing their ups, their downs, their tribulations, their trials, their successes here on this podcast every Thursday. So starting out on next week, we will have Dr. Venable, who is going to be here, and the topic is going to be house calls. So until then, good people, walk in love, be love, and don't let nobody take your joy. So I will see you guys next week. Be blessed and smooches.